What we're gonna talk about today, Twinks. Twinks, twunks, hunks, himbos. What are these things? What are the differences? What are the applications? And we're gonna find out today. So, when we talk about a twink, okay, still very much a masculine body type. We're talking hairless, generally hairless, pretty much smooth. There's a spectrum of how feminine is it, how masculine is it. I think the misconception with twinks is there's been a new word added to the vocabulary, which is femboy. But with the twink, and then over here, let's draw a bear.
What is
bear? Very large, not like bodybuilder style. We're talking thick. We're talking thick and hairy. Okay. What do you think about when you think of a bear?
The animal, man. Just the animal.
And bears are what?
They're vicious, you know.
What do they look like?
They're very hairy, very large, very thick. So on the scale, bears, are you saying them are like the most masculine, or
overtly masculine?
Overtly.
Not chiseled, because you know there are bodybuilder types with like skinny waist, broad shoulders. But we're talking about aggressively big, strong, lumberjack-esque. But with the addition of femboys, into the discussion, it kind of switches things up, because I would not necessarily say that a femboy can't look like a twink, right? And it's sort of same thing with bears. With a twink, I think it's much more physical. It's a much more physical description, right? And within this spectrum, there's a lot of physicality going on. But when it comes to femboys and bears, there's sort of a spiritual aspect to it. The old scale was a little too limited. With the addition of femboys in recent times, we're able to push the femininity of the body type. But at the same time, a femboy can still be a twink. Even, I think, a femboy can even reach past the twink territory into bear territory. There's a certain amount of fitness associated here too. You see, bears are very strong. But if you are closer to twink territory, it doesn't mean you're not strong too. There is something, you know what otter mode is? No idea. What is an otter?
An animal that's in the ocean that makes funny noises.
When you think of an otter, you think of water. You think of sleekness, agility, ability to swim. Otter mode refers to like a swimmer's body. Not so smooth and soft like a twink, but not so big as a bear. I would put otter mode in between here. Closer to twinkage. Think of a twink, slightly more toned twink. So here we have 4 body types here on the spectrum. As you know, we have here twinks, bears, fit, skelly mode, okay? And then right here would be otter mode. So again, just really briefly, these are the body types. You know, we think of stuff like femboy, which is more of a essence, a state of being. When we're thinking purely physical, I think we need a good frame of reference. So here we have twinks and bears, like we talked about. And here we have bodybuilders, right? Athletics. There's a range in between bears and twinks. Overall, generally, I would say these are the fit body types. And over here, we have skelly mode. This is the Asmongold's of the world are right here. Femboys could be anywhere in like this zone. This range, I think, is like the most attractive range, purely physical, right? Because here, you're still very much masculine, very fit, but still, if you notice, look at the range for femboys. You're still in femboy territory. The best of both worlds. You can have your cake and eat it too. This is the Professor Lando chart of twonkology, okay? Here on this side we have hunk, twink, femboy, bear. What are we talking about? Let's define it firsthand. Femboy. We're talking about Astolfo. We're talking about Hirari from Len S. We're talking about Felix. You know, we're talking about feminine boys. very much still male. Twink, much more masculine than a femboy. Perhaps twinks and femboys have a crossover. There's an argument to be made. There's an argument to be made that femboys and twinks cross over. But not all twinks are femboys. Not all twinks consider themselves femboys, right? And again, twinks being smooth, younger, prettier males, but not necessarily femboys. Hunks, very much masculine, very much, your standard build. What you think as a stereotypical masculine built male. A bear on the far end of the spectrum, opposite of a femboy, aggressively, overtly masculine, big belly, strong muscles, built for labor. You're talking about a lumberjack, just a thick masculine, hairy as well. Let's just pick some random people and put them on here. So Astolfo, here, okay? Very much feminine, but not pure 100% feminine. I'm kind of feeling like right here-ish, right? Maybe. Are we far twink? Oh, actually maybe here. Because if we go here, we're kind of leaning more towards bear and hunkage, right? So maybe right here, I'm feeling. Okay, we have Astolfo. Okay. Let's add some more characters.
Where do you think I would go
Blake,
on that scale?
come up here.
Not too slender.
Again, it's two aspects, spiritual and physical.
Because what's middle? Is middle like everything? Like, do I have a little bit of everything if I'm here in the middle?
Maybe, yeah, you're perfectly balanced.
Bro, I'm probably just like right here.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning here as well.
yeah, I
Very
think so.
slightly leaning towards bear, hunk.
But more like hunk, right?
Oh, slightly more hunkage.
Slightly more hunk, so closer to hunk. Yeah, I think.
Blake is right here.
Because I'm not really that slender, so it's gotta be over there.
I might even push you a little bit further, actually.
Yeah. Well, didn't you say hunk was like your standard frat boy?
Yeah.
I mean, come on,
Yeah. Okay, like right here, let's say.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, what about your professor?
Dude, Professor,
Professor Lando.
What are you, Professor?
Take a seat, Blake.
Yes, sir.
Fairly hairless when I want to be. No facial hair, no chest hair. Just, am I perfectly balanced? Because that's a very important benchmark, bookmark, okay? If you're saying I'm perfectly balanced, that's a large statement. Because if I'm perfectly balanced, then you're gonna be what other things are compared to. Am I Blake's mirror?
Oh.
Am I like right here?
Dude. Yeah, I think that's the answer, dude.
Abraham Lincoln.
Tall, lanky, right?
Tall, lanky. Kind of got a little twink body.
Yeah.
But he's hairy, he's got a thick beard.
Ooh, that's true.
He's got large, he was a wrestler.
This is a tough one.
They're like, he's more twink. So maybe like here? Doc is shaking his head. They're saying yes. Doc, what do you think? Oh, you think you think Abraham Lincoln, oh, Abraham Lincoln's way more bear though, because he's got a big beard.
He's so hairy, yeah.
Okay, let's do two presidents, Abraham Lincoln and Theodore Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt, so then Abraham Lincoln. So now we have something to compare Abraham Lincoln to. If Teddy Roosevelt's here, if Abraham Lincoln is less of a twink than Professor Lando, it has to be on this side of the spectrum. But he also is more of a bear than Blake, so it has to be above this asymptote here. Teddy Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln is less of a bear than Teddy Roosevelt. So we're saying that he could be in this entire zone. But we're saying that he is more of a twink than he is a hunk. So that means that Abraham Lincoln is in this zone right here. So the doc says that he is more of a twink than he is a bear. If that's true, Abraham Lincoln. Let's do Link from The Legend of Zelda. More of a hunk than Astolfo, but less of a hunk than Professor Lando. More of a femboy than Professor Lando, but not as much of a femboy as Astolfo.
Yeah, we need something in the bottom left quadrant, man.
Who is hunk and femboy? See, this is almost a paradoxical zone. Because a femboy hunk, that's a twink. Inosuke from Demon Slayer,
Oh, dude, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. He leans definitely probably more towards the hunk side, right, than femboy.
I surmise Inosuke's here. Where is Germa? Is Germa more hunk or twink? Wait, femboy? Bear? Do we have equilibrium? True center. Okay, we have a reference point now. Germa is our reference point. We're having trouble filling this.
Is there a bear twink?
What's a bear twink?
What the heck is a bear twink?
Waluigi. Well, that's because Waluigi, I guess if they're slender with facial hair, they're an Abe Lincoln-esque type of character. You know, I would think maybe like here. The Beast Titan, slender, tall, insanely tall and lanky, but with a big beer belly and he's hairy.
Oh my gosh, we did it. Dude, where do you think our boy Doc would go?
Dr. Hakase, more bear than femboy,
Yeah.
but more twink than hunk. I'd say right here.
That's our boy Doc.
So let's make a heat map. This is our heat map. The survivor bias of twinkage. If you look at this, things tend to be very much centered, as all things are. A sort of normal distribution of twinkage. Seems like we have a strong tendency to go towards the middle, but slightly more towards fembology. However, when it comes to extremes, you have much more things often being extremes of hunkage and bearage. And very few things are hunk and femboy, and very few things are bear and twinks, because that makes sense, because if you look at hunk, femboys, and bears and twinks, this is sort of a contradictory zone. The upper right quadrant and the lower left quadrant. I think we can conclude that, I don't know.